Councilor Linehan.
I knew you would not miss that opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words and to ask a few questions. And of course, thank you to the Boston Police, to its leadership, and to all what you do, all of what you do for our citizens in Boston, and especially in my district. For me, the thank you goes back to 14 months ago when on Marathon Monday in 2012, we had a horrific murder in my district, and it was part of a series of murders that 6 people were killed and 5 were women, and it was related or connected in some way to the drug culture and what was going on in the area. And I want to say an enormous thank you to every person who was involved, because you all have made a difference in our community, our quality of life, and those were very trying times. And after what happened in 2013, it needs to be noted that this is not a one-day or one-incident response, that you have been responding to crises in our neighborhood and in our communities since I've been elected. And I truly appreciate, as Councilor Consalvo said, your leadership and the leadership of all the men and women of the Boston Police Department and their commitment. There was a couple things, many things have already been mentioned here today, and but this is a very unique time. This budget is a budget of transition. We are putting a budget together that will be administered by folks who are not here and will be managed by a mayor that has not been selected yet. So it's very important that, in all of these matters, that we, the council, are very held to task on making sure that the things that we think are important are integrated in this budget. So I have a couple questions about FTEs. I see that there'll be an increase in that in this budget, which I think is important. The more full-time employees we have, the smaller the overtime budget, I hope. And then the question really is, how many classes will we be having going through the academy as part of this budget? I may not have heard that in the beginning. If you did mention it, did you?
No, I did not. We will certainly have one class during the course of this budget. We have a class that's graduating now. We're in the process of hiring for a class sometime in September and October. And there's a likelihood that we'll squeeze one in towards the end of the fiscal year. But right now I can guarantee that there'll be one class going in.
So we know that the FTEs are the amount of positions that you give into the department, but that's not actually the full full deployment of all personnel, whether they're civilian or how many folks are not in a position at this point in the department, and how many uniformed officers are not?
I don't understand the question.
The question is that you have so many uniformed officers positioned, and just to demonstrate.
I see. Okay. Yeah, the available for duty issue. Yeah,
that's right.
About 90% right now. So there's 10% that are not available for duty for one reason or another.
Okay. Thank you for that. We had issues of concurrent jurisdiction in the district, in and about the South Boston waterfront and along the shores, state jurisdiction and so forth. Has there been any further resolve to any of that at this point?
There hasn't, Councilor, and I think this is one of the most significant tragedies that I've had to deal with over the course of the 7 years that I've been here, that this issue has not been resolved. Our officers are in danger because of this ill-conceived statute that was passed 15 or 20 years ago that takes police officers' jurisdiction puts it in question in that area of the seaport. There's a statute that says Boston Police are Boston Police throughout Boston, but 20 years ago this other statute was passed that says that in those particular areas, the only people that can do police work are state police. And when my officers enter into those areas, they are in civil jeopardy because if they use their police powers there on an unfolding situation, there's going to be a question as to whether or not that was appropriate and whether or not they have police power there. Right now, we are not responding to calls for service in those areas. And those areas are being built up over and over and over again. And it's tragic that in this one small section of the city, we have this arcane law that was passed that flies in the face of all the cooperation and the partnership that has occurred through two great police agencies, the Massachusetts State Police and the Boston Police Department. This is an anachronism of a different time when people were all grabbing for power, and it is not indicative of the way police work now or of what's needed in those neighborhoods. And it is a shame that the Massachusetts legislature has not identified this as a huge problem that is not serving the citizens of this community well. Something needs to be done about this. I can't talk more earnestly about a problem that we're facing here in the city that requires legislative action than that particular area of the seaport. Well, and I appreciate you bringing it up.
Yep, no, and you have my commitment, and I have had my commitment to work with you to resolve this, and I think that more than ever now, it's timely for us to get this resolved. Every day there are new units built, new citizens of Boston, new voters live in those areas, and they do not have the protection of the Boston Police Department. And that's, to me, outrageous.
It is outrageous. I agree with you completely.
The last matter that I've addressed to you specifically and to on other hearings is that in a $287 million budget, I do not see the reinstatement of the police academy program, the police cadet program, excuse me, I'm sorry. And I think that it was a vital and important program within our city. Some of the best police officers have come through that program from this city and that grew up in this city, and they have a distinct advantage. And it also allows for young people to be to be integrated into the culture of police work, regardless of whether they become Boston police officers or not. And I've made the request as part of this budget process to see that that happens. It has not occurred. I'm going to continue to lobby my colleagues to see that over these next couple of weeks that this is added to the budget. Use leverage in whichever way we can. It's a good program. I understand all the competing interests financially. You could always use more money. But for the amount of money, and I mean, if you wanted to, $1.5 million or something like that for a program like this, that is so important and was so important, and we're beyond those budget crisis times. Why it has not been reinstituted, to me, is not right. So you're welcome to address it, but it's really a statement. And again, I want to thank you and all of your folks for what you've done, marathon to marathon.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that very much. The cadet program is a great program. I hope that the financial picture changes at some point in time so we can afford it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council